What follows are the remembered words of a man who walked away from a palace and spent the rest of his life explaining why we suffer. His name, before the name the world gave him, was Siddhartha. He was a prince who left at 29, wandered for 6 years as a beggar, sat beneath a Bodhi tree, and would not rise until he understood why the human heart aches in the middle of plenty. He did not leave a book. What we have are stories his students remembered and wrote down centuries later, in languages he never spoke. His teaching came as parables, small scenes, a traveler, a thirsty man, a woman at a river. Do not look for commands in what follows. There will be none. Look instead for the shape of a story that happens to contain you. Listen. The morning is still cool. The dew has not yet lifted from the grass around the tree. A small group of seekers has gathered at a distance and is now drawing closer, one by one, sitting down in a loose half-circle. The teacher waits until the last of them has settled. Then he begins, not with an announcement, but with a story. A thirsty man once drank from a salty sea, hoping the next mouthful would finally quench him. Each swallow deepened the thirst. He did not lack water. He lacked the knowledge of what he was drinking. The wanting itself is the wound, not the missing thing. A new object arrives. The ache rests for a moment, then the ache wakes, hungrier than before. So it goes. A larger house, a better title, a mouthful of salt that looks, from a distance, like the thing that would finally be enough. It is not the sea that betrays the thirsty. It is the belief that the next swallow will be different. When the seeker sees the salt for what it is, the hand puts the cup down on its own. Nothing has to be forced. There is no ladder of virtue to climb here, no shame to swallow. Notice only this. The wanting is not a sin to be punished. It is a wound to be understood. And a wound that is seen clearly stops bleeding. The one who has been chronically dissatisfied in the middle of a full cupboard is not broken. He is only thirsty in a way no cup can answer. Once that is seen, the hunger is still there for a little while, but it has lost its voice. And the voice is most of what a hunger is. A second story. A man once ran through a forest, convinced a tiger followed his steps. He ran until his chest burned. He ran until the trees became a single smear of green. When at last his legs failed him and he turned, expecting to meet the yellow eyes at his throat, he saw only wind moving in the leaves. The tiger was a sound he had made into a beast. So it is with the mind at 3 a.m. The heart begins to beat too fast. The breath shortens. A rustle in the leaves of thought becomes, in an instant, a predator at the back of the skull. The body believes the storm the mind has made. There is a small practice for this. Place the soles of the feet on the ground. Feel the earth where it meets the bone. Breathe in slowly, 4 counts. Breathe out, 6 counts. Do not argue with the tiger. Only watch the wind, and watch the breath, and wait for the forest to become a forest again. The panic is real. The tiger is not. The one who learns to tell the difference is free, not from fear, but from being ruled by it. A third story. A woman once stood at the bank of a river at full moon and tried to hold a single reflection of the moon in her palm. She scooped. She clenched. The water slipped through her fingers, and the moon was gone from the cup of her hand. She thought, in that moment, that she had lost something precious. She had never held anything at all. So it is with the glowing faces the modern world studies at night. The faces on the small, bright screen are not people. They are reflections arranged to look like lives, polished and cropped, lit from the most generous angle, scrubbed of every ordinary hour. You compare your own rough morning, your tiredness, your unwashed floor, to a moon that was never in the palm of anyone. All conditioned things dissolve. The river changes. The moon shifts. The face that shone so brightly last year is already the face of a different person this year, and the one who watched is also a different person, though she has not noticed. The clinging is the only wound. What dissolves was never graspable in the first place. Put the hand down. Let the river keep its moon. A whole sky is already above you, and it has been there all along, unclenched, unheld, free. The sun has moved across the sky. It is afternoon now. The shadows beneath the tree have softened. The seekers are beginning, one by one, to gather their things and rise. A few still sit. The teacher, unhurried as ever, begins again, because there is still the second half of the wound to speak of, which is how it closes. A man once blamed the earth for the weight of his own steps. He stamped through the sand and was angry at the sand for remembering him. Every footprint he cursed was made by the foot that walked. When a person trips, the eye looks for the stone. When a person falls, the mind looks for the hand that pushed. But the weight of a life is carried by the choices of that life, one after another, through the years. This is not a punishment. It is an arithmetic. The one who sees his own footprints stops looking for someone to blame. He kneels, places his palm on the warm earth, and understands that the ground is not an enemy. It is the record of where he has chosen to walk. From that moment, a new step is possible. Not the step of a man who has been wronged, but the step of a man who has remembered he is the one walking. A second story for the afternoon. One evening, a woman sat alone in a dark hut and watched her neighbor cross the lane with a lit lamp. The neighbor leaned in and touched her wick to the woman's own, and a new flame rose in the hut where there had been none. No candle is lit by itself. A flame is passed, hand to hand, wick to wick, back through a long row of nights no one remembers. So it is with the one who counts her connections on a glowing screen and feels, at the end of the counting, that she is alone. She is not. Her breath was taught to her by a mother who has forgotten the lesson. The word she uses for loneliness was given to her by a stranger centuries gone. Nothing about her arose by itself. The loneliness is the forgetting of this. The cure is not a louder scream. The cure is to walk across a dark lane with a small flame and to give it the one wick that has gone out. The flame is not diminished in the giving. It is what a flame is for. A final story. A traveller once carried a burning coal in his fist for a whole day, waiting for the chance to throw it at a man who had wronged him. By evening, his hand was ruined. The man was nowhere to be found. There is nothing solid inside a grudge, only heat. The one who wronged you yesterday is not the same person who walks the street today, and you, who were wounded yesterday, are not the same person who now remembers. Both of you have been dissolving and reforming all night in your sleep, and neither of you is the fixed self the grudge pretends to be holding. The grudge is a coal, held tightly around the idea of a person who no longer exists, clenched in the hand of someone who also no longer exists. Open the hand. Watch what happens. The coal falls. The burn cools. The hand, strange and empty, is a hand again. And the hand that is empty is the hand that can be offered. And the hand that is offered is the hand that has forgotten, without effort, who it was ever angry with. The light through the leaves is almost gold now. The teacher does not say that any of this is easy. He only says that the thirsty man may put down the cup, the frightened mind may learn to watch its own breath, and the hand, at last, may open.